So Samir, while we are talking about this whole brand building journey, yesterday I think you were sharing with me, your whole approach and thought process about really getting to know your customer. In fact, you asked a very simple question, which is actually very complicated. Describe precisely, who is your customer. Yeah. Just can you talk more about your process? Like, how do you approach that? How do you develop that, very, very accurate, precise understanding of customers?
So in no way we claim that we have that kind of understanding, but we make an effort towards that. So look, basically, as I was sharing yesterday, you go through this journey of kind of figuring out, you have to sell a product. And the product is going to be selling unassisted with some marketing communication. But you have like this 30 seconds or 60 seconds to talk about why you're different, right? So you really have to kind of really understand whom you are targeting and what is the problem that you're solving. So basically the point that we were discussing yesterday, we care a lot about like basically who is your customer. And there are a lot of biases that get built. So for example, you go to Cult, or maybe I go to this fancy gym, and then you think that the whole India story is about these people, because obviously you're able to relate to your lifestyle and all that. But the reality is, people who are consuming, because India is such a diverse and large country, the segments could be very different. And what happens is, unless you are able to bring the core stakeholders in the company together and have a common understanding of who this customer is and real good appreciation of, how does that customer look like? You may be building something for something different, while it may be accidentally be used by other people, but then your decision-making framework would be different. So I'll just narrate the story that I was talking yesterday. So, we did this exercise. Basically, 1 year we devoted full year just to increase the NPS scores for MuscleBlaze. So we had transitioned from a private label, and then we were trying to go deep into the brand.
And before even progress, you're saying when you say 1 full year devoted to improving NPS, that was the most important metric. You said like sales is less important, profit is less important, NPS really matters. That itself, I think, 0.01% of the companies in India will actually, especially in the digital world, will prioritize NPS, which is a proxy for customer experience. Sure. This is what matters us the most. I think that itself is a great starting point.
So to be honest, consumer companies, I think, in my view, you can't change the demand significantly for how the market is evolving until you are in the category creation game, which is expensive. So what you can control is basically the product experience. And at some point you have to do that exercise. So we had this 1 year where basically...
So I'm going to interrupt you again. Before progress story, can you also explain NPS? Because, we use in our everyday parlance, but what is NPS?
Very simple. How many customers of yours who use your product will basically actively promote your product without any assistance? That's the simple definition. There's a mathematical formula, but ultimately...
What's the formula?
Formula is like there's a promoter, there's a detractor. You subtract the promoter from detractor and you come up with this NPS score.
Right.
But ultimately it is how many people will just say good things about your product overall. So just to give you an example, the gold standard would be like Apple kind of companies will have a NPS score of like 70 or so. Most of the e-commerce companies in India will operate between 50 and 60, I guess, right? Overall. Right. But basically, so we were struggling with this fact that we were getting this feedback about some people will say that your product is really cool, it tastes really well. And again, similar number of some people will say that your product is not good. So we were struggling with this fact that what do we do? Like what is happening? And we basically, to solve this problem, we got together a cross-functional team where we had our R&D head, our brand team, myself, and maybe some core people in the team. And we said, like, let's have a deeper understanding of why this is happening, right? Why is the same product being rated very, very differently by, same group of people? So we did, so good thing is in D2C world, you have access to so much of data, so many consumers you can just talk to. And this is such an involved category. Yeah. People are happy to give feedback. They're happy to do video calls. They're happy to invite you to, because, the fitness journey is quite, involved, and people are really deeply entrenched in that journey while they're going through this journey. So we used to do these video calls. And what we realized is, look, our perception was like this guy is going to this gym and like taking this shaker and kind of taking this. But basically we realized some people were actually consuming whey protein in this cup. And वो घर में थोड़ा सा डाला, पानी डाला और उसको ऐसे मिला
बिना मेजरमेंट के, बिना कुछ मेजरमेंट
तो नहीं वो ऐसे वो होता है ना जैसे बच्चे दूध उस तरह से भी पी रहे थे.
तो कितने लोग घर गया तू
नहीं तो दिस वाज बेसिकली वीडियो कॉल एंड देन वी डिसाइडेड वी टुक अपॉइंटमेंट विद सम पीपल एंड वी वर लाइक कि यार चलो घर जाके देखते हैं ये कस्टमर दिखता कैसे है. तो फिर वी यूज्ड टू बेसिकली सुबह सैटरडे मॉर्निंग को हम एक गाड़ी पे जाते थे और फिर हम अपॉइंटमेंट लेते थे, जैसे 4-5 अपॉइंटमेंट है दिन के, and we will just basically go. So we were very, very humbled with the fact that people are actually letting us, in their homes. But then we realized जैसे एक हम बंदे के घर गए तो वो क्या है बिल्कुल ही जैसे होता है ना पेइंग गेस्ट कहीं पे वो रह रहा था और अंदर जाने के लिए हमें गाड़ी बाहर पार्क करनी पड़ी, तो चल के अंदर गली में जाना पड़ा. फिर ऊपर चल के तुम एक उधर गए तो बोला यार ये कौन कस्टमर है. फिर उसने खोला, फिर हमने बोला यार उसका रूम लिटरली आप समझ लो कि 100-150 स्क्वायर फीट का रूम है, उसी में एक कबर्ड है. हमने बोला यार हमें देखना है कि आप कैसे शेक बना के पीते हो. तो उसने कबर्ड खोली, अंदर से एक वो शेकर निकाला और वहाँ पे पाउडर डाला, बोलते ही गया. तो बेसिकली व्हाट आई वाज ट्राइंग टू से इज कि आवर विजुअल वाज कि ये लोग ऐसे जिम में जाते हैं, ये जाते हैं. But the reality was there was a lot of students who were living in some other towns and very limited means, and they were using our products happily, and it just completely changed the perception. So that's why basically we, there were a lot of learnings which came about. For example, very simple insight. Amount of water that you put in your shake will completely change your perception of taste of a shake. And we as a brand were not communicating how much exact water that you need to put in to get the right taste. So very, very simple this one. But more importantly, what came about was like basically we do a very simple exercise where we just say कि यार आपका brand है, ठीक है, तो अगर तुम किसी से simple पूछोगे who is your customer, तो people will say मेरा ये भी कस्टमर है, ये भी कस्टमर है, ये भी कस्टमर है, ऐसे कर करके बेसिकली लोग सारी गिनती करा लेंगे.
Correct.
But the real question is about prioritization. आपके 30-40% सेगमेंट कौन सा है, उसके अगला 20 कौन सा है. तो इफ यू फोर्स प्रायोरिटाइज एंड आस्क पीपल टू ड्रॉ अ सिंपल पिक्चर कि यार ये ऐसा दिखता है,
करेक्ट,
दैट इटसेल्फ इज आई ओपनिंग. तो बेसिकली कमिंग बैक टू दिस, ये अल्टीमेटली रियलाइजेशन ऑफ who your customer is and whom are you trying to solve this problem for goes a long way in terms of what approach that you take in a brand.
No, I think this is a simple but very, very powerful framework. I think anyone who's selling to consumers directly can do this exercise, can pause this podcast right now and say who is your number one consumer segment, which is very precisely defined. So you can exactly define it. This person has this age, gender, profession. This is where the person lives. This is what the person wears. This is his or her income level is. These are her, challenges in life, motivations, like very, very accurate pictures. So you can actually visualize the person in the room. With that, the choices you will make about product features, communication will be very different versus generic, my customers are 28 to 30.
आपके हर तरह के कस्टमर होते हैं, right?
Correct.
और look, अभी जैसे एक बहुत बड़ा challenge क्या होता है? Look, ultimately, look, when you talk about consumer brands or any business, it's about getting the right pricing.
Yeah.
It's about getting the right differentiation. तो अगर आपने कस्टमर को डिफाइन नहीं कर रखा और आपने जैसे इंडिया में भी तुम दो डिफरेंट, इंडिया में क्या आता है एक प्राइस पॉइंट के बाद ऐसा नीचे, मतलब आपने अगर प्राइस एक लेवल में बढ़ा दी तो एकदम से स्टीप ड्रॉप हो जाता है आपके वॉल्यूम्स का. एंड वी समटाइम्स don't define the customer enough to be able to say कि यार मैं गुड़गांव के गोल्फ कोर्स में रहने वालों के लिए ब्रांड बना रहा हूँ या फिर मैं इंडिया के इमर्जिंग मिडिल क्लास के लिए जो बेसिकली आज यहाँ पे पहुँचेगा उसके लिए बना रहा हूँ. ये सिंपल क्वेश्चन भी कई बार वी आर नॉट क्लियर एंड दैट इज वाई वी डोंट टेक द राइट प्राइसिंग डिसीजंस एंड राइट बिकॉज फंडामेंटली वी आर नॉट क्लियर अबाउट हु योर primary customer is.
Pull it that to, let's say, a cult customer, and we may have some very affluent customers which will say complain कि यार valet parking क्यों नहीं है हमें, मतलब, and will come in a nice car etc. and somebody notice कि मैंने customer से बात करी और customer बोल रहा है कि valet parking है तो बनाते हैं, versus, that may be 1% of our customer base.
Sure.
Like 40% of customer base, have very different problems. So I think having that clarity, otherwise, you end up building randomly wrong features.
Even if you look at classic FMCG companies, they have different brands to address different price points or different needs and all that. So वो ultimately वहीं से stem होता है. But question is कि when you're trying to build, then you get biased by your own views. And I think it is important to keep that perspective.